I'd like to just take a moment right up front and thank the O'Donnell Foundation for their generous support of this ceremony. We're very fortunate to have Jerry Thompson from the O'Donnell Foundation with us tonight. And thank you so much for making this program possible. I would also just like to say, for those of you who had a chance to hear the amazing O'Donnell presentations, what an incredible group of young scientists are being recognized once again with this award. And I'd just like to have a round of applause for these recipients. As they make their way to the stage, they are really well trained. Good job. All right, I would also like to thank our sponsors for the support of the conference. These would be the donors to the TAMEST Endowment as well as the O'Donnell Endowment. The O'Donnell Endowment was created by Peter O'Donnell in 1925 with the goal of recognizing and advancing outstanding young researchers by funding their research, including a $25,000 award in each of the categories. Since then, the awards have been expanded to include technology innovation and 2 science awards, one in biology and one in physical sciences. The TAMEST Endowment was created by Larry Faulkner and Kenny Jastrow with the help of Senator Hutchinson, who once again is with us here at this meeting. Senator Hutchinson, thank you for your support and continued support of TAMEST. It's always such an honor to have you here, and I have to say, hearing the story from Senator Hutchinson about how TAMEST was started, the vision, the foresight, and the remarkable organization that this has grown into is just the most inspiring, and as we've heard over and over, a completely unique organization to the folks here in Texas. We're very grateful. Thank you. We are honored tonight to have as our host this evening Jerry Thompson, who's chair of the Southwestern Medical Foundation Board of Trustees and, as I mentioned before, a board member of the O'Donnell Foundation. Mr. Thompson, thank you so much for hosting the ceremony. Please come to the stage, and we're going to look forward to recognizing each of these wonderful awardees. Thank you.
Good evening. Thank you, Dr. Walker, and thank all of you for being here tonight. We have so much to celebrate as we recognize these first-class innovators and scientists. This ceremony is a unique gathering of the Texas research community. With us tonight, we have university presidents, chancellors, CEOs, and many distinguished engineers, scientists, and researchers. The Edith and Peter O'Donnell Awards recognize rising star Texas researchers and are also addressing who are addressing fascinating scientific and technological questions, and whose work meets the highest standards of exemplary professional performance and creativity. The awards are named in honor of the late Edith and Peter O'Donnell, who were among Texas's most devoted advocates for excellence in scientific achievement and STEM education. The awards represent a way to recognize young researchers at a critical stage of their careers and raise the profile of what's being done in the state of Texas. Since this program began, 16 O'Donnell Awards recipients have been inducted into the national academies, and 5 have been elected to multiple academies. With us tonight are several past recipients of the Edith and Peter O'Donnell Awards. If you're a past recipient of the O'Donnell Award, please stand so that we can recognize you. These awards are special because they are selected by a committee of National Academy members in Texas, endorsed by a panel of Nobel and Breakthrough Prize laureates, and approved by the TAMEST Board of Directors. It's a highly competitive and very prestigious award. We'd like to recognize the 2025 Awards Committee, chaired by Dr. Margaret Goodall, for their hard work selecting these outstanding candidates. Thank you. We'd also like to thank the Nobel and Breakthrough Prize Laureates Committee for their service of endorsing these recipients as well. We'll now celebrate the recipients of the 2025 Edith and Peter O'Donnell Awards. Each O'Donnell Award recipient will be introduced by a video highlighting their work. We will then hear remarks by their nominator or champion, followed by remarks from each award recipient. Dr. Lauren Averett Byers is the recipient of the 2025 Edith and Peter O'Donnell Awards in Medicine. Dr. Byers is a professor and thoracic section chief of thoracic head, neck, and medical oncology at the University of Texas MD Anderson Cancer Center. She was nominated by Nobel laureate Dr. James P. Allison at MD Anderson. Let's now learn more about Dr. Byers and her work. It's coming.
Being able to provide more hope and more optimism, that has been incredible. That's my favorite part about seeing people in clinic, is hearing all the things that they're excited about and doing, and that they can do because they're not having to spend quite as much time, thinking about what's going on with the cancer. Hearing them talk about celebrating birthdays and going on trips with family, that's really what it's all about. Small cell lung cancer is one of the most aggressive types of cancer, and there have been very few advances over the past really several decades. Small cell lung cancer had always been treated as sort of a one-size-fits-all cancer. When we went back and looked more deeply at this, we realized that small cell lung cancer is really several different types of lung cancer. We've been able to identify drugs that look like they work especially well for each of those 4 types. We've also been able to develop new types of biomarkers that are specific to small cell lung cancer so that we can really start thinking about how would we match a patient who has small cell lung cancer with a specific therapy that's more personalized and hopefully more effective for their specific cancer.
What Dr. Byers has done is really do the science to look in the mechanism, look at what's going on in the tumor, and she's discovered things about how the wiring of cancers change that allow her to identify some of the vulnerabilities.
It's really exciting. In fact, we've seen some incredible results from some recent clinical trials with these newer drugs for small cell lung cancer. I actually get goosebumps thinking about it because it's probably the most monumental shift in terms of really seeing that there's a path forward and that we're going to be able to have much more effective treatments for these patients.
She not only is a great doctor, but also a great mentor by encouraging us, and also always keeping our sight on the end goal of improving patient outcomes. So it motivates us every single day, I guess.
Being at MD Anderson is really incredible because it means that the things that we are learning in the lab can rapidly get into the clinic to our patients. One of the ways that we really prioritize what we're working on is what do we think is the most likely to help patients, and how quickly can we get that to our patients? The average survival had been around 1 year. Patients who had their cancer recur and have received this newer, more targeted treatment, their survival after starting that new treatment is over 14 months and still going. So patients who are responding to this newer type of treatment are essentially doubling or more, how long they're living with this cancer. We're actually just about to start the very first clinical trial where they'll be matched to treatment based on their subtype and their biomarkers.
She treats patients. She also runs her own lab team and conducts state-of-the-art research. I think that should be an inspiration to every physician scientist.
I feel very grateful to be here and to be someplace where it really is inspiring. Every single person who is here is proud of what they're doing and looking for how they can contribute. I think that that's really special.
To introduce Dr. Byers tonight, we are pleased to have Dr. Helen Puenicom-Worms of MD Anderson Cancer Center join us. Dr. Puenicom-Worms is a member of the National Academy of Medicine and the National Academy of Sciences. Dr. Puenicom-Worms, please come up here to the podium. Thank you.
Wow, what a remarkable person. So let me begin by stating how delighted I am to be able to introduce Dr. Byers to you this evening. I have had the privilege of collaborating with Dr. Byers, and so I can personally attest to her dedication in tackling the most pressing issues facing our cancer patients today, and her commitment to improving the lives of those patients. So as you heard, Dr. Byers is professor and thoracic section chief of thoracic head and neck medical oncology at MD Anderson Cancer Center. She is a physician scientist at the forefront of her cadre in preclinical discoveries that are impacting our understanding and treatment of small cell lung cancer. As you heard, this is a highly lethal cancer with a 5-year survival rate of less than 10%. And despite the heterogeneity of this disease, small cell lung cancer has really been treated as a single disease with predictably poor outcomes. And so what has Dr. Byers done to transform the way we think and treat this disease? Her contributions fall really into many buckets, but not limited to, 1, developing novel subtyping system for small cell lung cancer, identifying predictive biomarkers for small cell lung cancer, discovering new therapeutic targets for the disease, and providing preclinical data to support innovative clinical trials for patients who do not respond to conventional therapies. So more specifically, Dr. Byers demonstrated that small cell lung cancer can be divided into 4 subtypes based on differential expression of 4 key transcription factors. And this is important because it provides a platform for developing targeted therapies tailored to a patient's specific type of small cell lung cancer. Another one of her key contributions has been the identification of biomarkers that can predict treatment response in small cell lung cancer. And since this disease tends to be diagnosed at an advanced stage and is often resistant to conventional therapies, biomarkers are crucial for identifying patients who might benefit from newer treatments, such as targeted therapies or immunotherapies. As a physician scientist, she is deeply committed to improving patient outcomes. So she has either led or been involved in numerous clinical trials assessing emerging treatment paradigms. And importantly, these paradigms have come out of her preclinical data in her own laboratory. So using proteomic profiling, Dr. Byers identified PARP1 as a candidate drug target in small cell lung cancer, and then led a randomized double-blind trial testing the efficacy of a PARP inhibitor in combination with temozolomide in refractory disease. She went on to identify an immunomodulatory function of PARP inhibitors, leading her to hypothesize that adding a PARP inhibitor to immunotherapy would enhance treatment efficacy in patients with small cell lung cancer. This work was published in Cancer Discovery and was the most highly cited paper in the year that it was published and led to a clinical trial. So in addition to her scientific achievements, Dr. Byers is a leader in the broader oncology community. And as you heard from the film, she is a wonderful mentor and a caring and compassionate physician. In fact, her patients have awarded her the distinction of a perfect Press-Ganey score, ranking her in the top 1% of providers nationally. So let me summarize by stating that Dr. Byers' efforts in translational research, combined with her clinical expertise, have significantly impacted our knowledge of small cell lung cancer's biology and personalized treatment approaches for refractory disease, both of which are critical for improving outcomes for patients with this devastating disease. So please join me in congratulating Dr. Lauren Byers as the 2025 Edith and Peter O'Donnell recipient in medicine.
Thank you so much, Helen. When I knew that you were going to be introducing me tonight, I remembered a time when my daughter was quite little, and we ran into each other at the grocery store, and I said, "This is Dr. Pinnacle Worms. She's a scientist. She knows a lot about DNA." And my daughter said, "I'm really good at soccer." So first of all, I want to thank TAMEST and the O'Donnell Foundation for this honor. When I found out that I had been selected, I started to reflect on the importance that many Texas institutions had had on my development and my career, especially in terms of my research training. These include Baylor College of Medicine, where I got my MD, MD Anderson Cancer Center, where I came to do my oncology training, as well as the University of Texas Graduate School of Biomedical Sciences, where I got my master's degree in patient-based research. Each of these have provided unique opportunities to let us learn from all of our patients and how we can improve cancer care, not just in Texas, but internationally. I also want to recognize Mrs. Kagi, who was my high school biology teacher in Houston. Not only did she inspire me, but she really left a legacy of many students who became talented physicians and scientists, including 5 ASCII members and a MacArthur Fellow, and those are just the ones that I know of. So she passed away recently, but I know that her impact on science and medicine is going to continue for quite a long time. After my residency at Johns Hopkins, I was recruited back to MD Anderson in Houston by Dr. Wan Ki Hong. And for those of you who knew Dr. Hong, he was passionate about mentoring young scientists, young physicians. He was the head of the Division of Cancer Medicine at MD Anderson. He would constantly remind us in the hallway, in the clinic, wherever we passed by, family comes first, then your patients, and then pursue research with passion. So with that in mind, first I'd like to thank my parents who are here tonight, John and Lynn Averett. And my husband, Will Byers. And our kids are back in Houston, hopefully doing homework, but they are all very patient with me as I travel and work and do all of the things that lets us do this work. And finally, I just really want to thank the lab team of all the scientists who really dedicate their time, their effort, and their expertise. They really are driving this forward, and they are really the ones that are making this happen every day. So thank you very much.
Thank you. We are now proud to recognize Dr. Yan Yao as a recipient of the 2025 Edith and Peter O'Donnell Award in Engineering. Dr. Yao is the Hugh Roy and Lily Kranz Cullen Distinguished Professor of Electrical and Computer Engineering at the University of Houston. He was nominated by Dr. Pradeep Sharma at University of Houston. Dr. Sharma is a member of the National Academy of Engineering. Let's now learn more about Dr. Yao and his work.
My grandmother was the first child in the family to go to high school. When I was young, she instilled in me, work hard. But the most importantly, you need to have passion. She have made a huge impact of what I'm doing. I'm the first kid in our family to get a PhD degree. If my grandma was still alive, she'll be very happy to see that. I specialize in material science engineering with a focus on developing battery technologies that power a sustainable battery future. The world runs on lithium batteries, but their dependence on scarce resources like lithium, cobalt, nickel create challenges.
The mining of lithium itself can lead to extensive carbon footprint. So there comes in his work on sustainable batteries, which is sodium-based batteries.
Our research focuses on going beyond the lithium batteries with alternative material systems that are inexpensive, widely available, and abundant materials such as sodium, magnesium, and organic battery materials. Those batteries need to be affordable, and the new battery technologies need to be simplified and use the existing manufacturing facilities.
The energy density for liquid batteries, it can achieve around 300 or 400 watt-hour per kilogram. We are working on solid-state batteries, which can reach up to like 500 watt-hour per kilogram.
When I successfully made a material and applied it in the batteries, I saw it works and it can achieve the high energy density.
New batteries based on sodium and magnesium could reduce the energy input during the mining, can also create new recycling technologies to be much less energy intensive. So we need to develop battery technologies that address real-world challenges.
The future of energy has to involve energy storage. We need to be able to store the energy we harvest. Batteries are a major part of the energy solution for the future.
The goals are twofold: to bridge scientific gaps and to create energy storage solutions that address real-world challenges. So our group have been developing aqueous organic batteries, sodium batteries, solid-state, and magnesium batteries to enable a resilient energy storage systems.
For me, I think the most important thing is it has a real impact on the people's daily life.
The impact of his work to our society and the science in general is huge.
The way we work here in Industrial Yao Lab, we have a problem that we need to solve. And we use our knowledge, our scientific knowledge, to solve that problem. And the problem we are trying to solve is the energy storage.
I really think the next logical step for him would be to incubate startups or actual companies that can leverage the inventions he's making or the technologies developing to put them in the marketplace.
Battery technology developed could be built in the electric vehicles, grid storage, but it can also be built into implantable devices to power medical innovations.
Good scientists have to be very curious, and Dr. Yanyo definitely has that.
It's truly fulfilling to know our research could benefit the mankind and change the world.
To introduce Dr. Yao tonight, we are pleased to have Dr. Hao Wang of the University of Houston. Dr. Wang is a member of the National Academy of Engineering. Dr. Wang, please come to the podium.
I'm now honored to introduce Dr. Yan Yao, the recipient of 2025 Edith and Peter O'Donnell Award in Engineering from TAMEST. These prestigious awards recognize the most innovative and impactful scientific minds in Texas. Dr. Yan Yao's groundbreaking contributions to battery technology and environmental sustainability make him truly deserving of this honor. The world runs on lithium batteries, but their dependency in scarce resources like lithium, cobalt, and nickel create environmental challenges. These This critical minerals requires intensive mining and are not renewable. To combat this, Dr. Yan's research focused on discovering new materials and storage mechanisms for batteries based on abundant materials, and storage mechanisms for batteries based on abundant material-wise create energy storage solutions that reduce reliance on critical resources and have positive environmental impact. He and his team has developed the methods to design and synthesize new materials with tunable electrochemical properties that match or surpass those traditional lithium batteries. Dr. Yao's work on aqueous batteries provides cheaper, safer, and more sustainable alternatives by leveraging abundant and renewable resources such as sodium and magnesium, even extractable from seawater. These aqueous batteries, which use water as electrolyte, are non-flammable and significantly reduce the negative environmental impact and energy intensity of battery production. Dr. Yao's innovations have far-reaching implications, from advancing the viability of electric vehicles and electrified aircraft propulsion to enabling large-scale renewable energy storage. His work addresses critical issues in energy and resources conservation. Dr. Yao is tackling key scientific hurdles while building technologies that will power a more sustainable and brighter future for us all. Congratulations, Dr. Yao. Now let's welcome Dr. Yan Yao to the podium to give us some remarks. Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you. Well, my deepest gratitude goes to TAMEST and our donor foundation for this prestigious recognition. So this award is not just a recognition for my past work, it's also a reminder of my responsibility we carry to mentor, to innovate, and also to contribute to better sustainable future. So the discovery we make today will shape the world for generations to come. So I want to express my gratitude to my nominators, Dean Pradeep Sharma and Professor Hao Huang. I'm also deeply thankful to my colleagues, our VP of Research, Claudia Neuhauser, our chair, Professor Ji Chen, and many supportive ECE colleagues here for their unwavering encouragement over the past 12 years. So I'm especially grateful to my mentors during my PhD and my postdoc time, Professor Yang at UCLA and Professor Yi Cui at Stanford, so who taught me how to think out of the box and also to dream big. Their guidance has profoundly shaped how I approach my research and how I mentor students. So to my current and also past group members, you are the true heroes behind our success. Together, we will continue inventing cutting-edge battery technologies and inspiring next-generation scientists and the engineers to accelerate the clean energy transition faster. So finally, I would like to thank my family members for their encouragement at every single step of my journey. So my wife is the most beautiful, caring, and supportive person I could ever hope for. So we recently celebrate our 20 years wonderful of marriage. To my two lovely children, I'm incredibly proud of everything you have accomplished. So Alan is here. So I also want to thank my parents. So my father traveled 7,000 miles from China to be with us today. So he planted the seed of pursuing excellence in me during my childhood. And his words continue to deeply influence me till today. So once again, thank you for this tremendous honor. Thank you.
Thank you. We are now proud to recognize Dr. Ilya Finkelstein as the recipient of the 2025 Edith and Peter O'Donnell Award in Biological Sciences. Dr. Finkelstein is Associate Professor in the Department of Molecular Biosciences at the University of Texas at Austin. He was nominated by Dr. Alan Lambowitz at the University of Texas at Austin. Dr. Lambowitz is a member of the National Academy of Sciences. Now, let's learn more about Dr. Finkelstein and his work.
I'm blessed to have two amazing girls. Every child is a scientist because they approach the world with a scientific mindset. They ask questions naturally, and they've awoken my excitement for looking into biology without any filters. If we can cultivate that kind of attitude as scientists, we will do well. We are molecular biologists who are trying to understand how the cell maintains its own genetic information and how we can modify that genetic information to cure genetic diseases. Go back to early 2000s and we finished a draft human genome. That opened up this whole new world of possibilities in terms of understanding the nature of disease. But the next step in that evolutionary journey from being able to read our own genetic fate is to be able to take our genetic fate into our own hands. And that's where the gene editing revolution is so exciting. Now we can read the genome and we can change the genome, understanding how cells maintain their genetic information and being sure we can safely edit genes. These are the two main research topics in my lab.
When he tells me different things that he's doing, I say, wow, that's terrific. And then he tells me something else and it's, wow, that's terrific. So he's able to do that over and over again. I don't say that about a lot of people.
We are now in a new age of being able to edit our genomes. CRISPR-Cas is a precision-guided scalpel. We can remove pieces of a genome, for example, to inactivate a gene or to kill a virus. Now, coupling that with additional technologies allowed us to now insert pieces of DNA into the genome. And this is the basis for the gene editing revolution, the ability to precisely cut and insert pieces of DNA.
There are over 150,000 different kinds of mutations that cause different diseases. And so part of the problem is being able to develop therapies that can target all of these mutations.
We can make a lot of RNA production for all the disease, like a cancer or cystic fibrosis. We can make a new RNA production for other disease.
As a molecular biologist, I want my research to have impact at scale. So by having this foundational technology, we can have an impact beyond any one disease. We are now starting to leverage artificial intelligence and large data sets for some of the questions that have always been at the forefront of my lab's research. We are now not limited by the kinds of proteins that nature has evolved. We can now go beyond that using generative AI to create completely new protein classes never before seen by nature that can include capabilities for this unconstrained, precise gene editing, ultimately going into the clinic.
To think outside the box becomes extremely important for genome editing, but you also have to be diligent enough to follow it through to completion and overcome all the problems along the way. And those are characteristics that Ilya has.
Perhaps the most rewarding aspect of my job is the ability to mentor the next generation of scientists. They are the force multipliers that make this science so rewarding, and each of them will go on to do amazing things. We live through a revolution every decade. That's why I'm so excited to be a molecular biologist. A great scientist is one that continues to be curious about their world. We want to think big. We don't want to shy away from challenges. If it doesn't exist, that's where I get excited.
Dr. Lambowitz, please come up to the podium to introduce Dr. Finkelstein.
Well, my great pleasure to introduce Ilya, who's a long-term colleague in the Department of Molecular Biosciences at the University of Texas at Austin and winner of the TAMEST Molecular Biology Award. Ilya was chosen for his work pioneering the use of novel, highly creative methods that advanced our understanding of DNA repair mechanisms as well as novel gene editing mechanisms and their potential for use curing diseases, which was the subject of his talk this morning. Ilya received his BS degree in chemistry from the University of California at Berkeley in 2001, PhD in chemistry from Stanford in 2007, then went on to postdoc in the laboratory of Eric Green at Columbia, where he contributed to the development of DNA curtain technology, which enabled detailed studies of how DNA repair proteins search along DNA strands, deal with protein roadblocks, and contribute to the DNA repair mechanisms. After that, he joined UT Austin as an assistant professor in 2012, was promoted to associate professor in 2019, and is on track to be promoted to professor in the Department of Molecular Biosciences. Now, to take some credit for this, I'll just mention that I first met Ilya when he was still a postdoc at Columbia at a Keystone meeting on DNA recombination and repair, at which he presented his pioneering work on new DNA curtains technology for the analysis of DNA repair mechanisms. At the time, I was director of UT Austin Institute for Cellular Molecular Biology, and within 15 minutes of meeting Ilya at an opening reception, I was all in trying to recruit him to UT Austin. This proved to be highly competitive. He had offers from outstanding other places, which I won't mention, but in the end was successful and highly worthwhile. Ilya got off to a very fast start as assistant professor, and he attended a very earlier TAMEST meeting as a protege, also in Dallas, maybe about 10 years ago. And it's good to have him back here today. Now, at UT Austin, Ilya continued to use DNA curtains and other methods to analyze DNA repair mechanisms, and then expanded into other research areas using a series of ingenious methods. Some of his major studies focused on the mechanism of loop extrusion and DNA condensation by cohesion, mechanistic studies of target acquisition and target cleavage in CRISPR-Cas systems, including single molecule biophysical analysis of CRISPR-Cas complexes, and sequencing using very novel, high-throughput sequencing, very novel mechanisms involving used DNA sequencing chips to measure interaction of Cas proteins with DNA. He's now considered a world leader in the very competitive field of CRISPR-Cas proteins biophysics and applications in genetic manipulation. And I'll just also mention that aside from this, during the pandemic, Ilya worked with Jason McClellan and Jennifer Maynard on biochemical analysis of SARS-CoV-2 spike protein to develop stabilized spike protein for COVID-19 vaccines, which is now in use. In addition to this award, Ilya was a winner of an NSF Career Award, a CIPRIT Fellowship, and the 2021 Welch Foundation Norman Hackerman Award. He's published more than 95 papers, preprints with 20 papers cited more than 100 times. He's also trained substantial numbers of undergraduate students, graduate students, postdoc fellows, and research scientists who have gone on to very productive careers. Overall, just as a sort of a summary, Ilya is really incredibly creative about and able to pull things out of multiple disciplines to develop his work. There are thousands of people working on gene editing, but what sets Ilya apart is his ability to bring in approaches that nobody else has thought about or worked on. It's his ability to think outside the box repeatedly, and his diligence to follow his ideas through to completion and overcome problems along the way that truly makes Ilya unique. What he's doing has a very good chance of revolutionizing in the near future the cure of genetic disease by gene therapeutics. Okay, so having said that, please join me in congratulating Ilya. Okay, and then we'll have you now, Britt. So you're up.
Thank you, Alan. You're too kind. Who is this Ilya? Do I know them? I don't recognize them. I should meet them, I guess. Thank you all so very much for being here, and thank you to TAMEST for making this possible. I look around the room and I think, what other state, what other place can combine studies on cosmology, the dark matter of cosmology, and groundbreaking developments in battery technologies, fracking, et cetera, with biologists all in one room? Only TAMEST. I travel, we travel for this work, and we go all around the country and the world, but there are no other organizations that quite match what TAMEST can do. And I know this because I was a protege, as Alan mentioned, some time ago. We won't say when. I want to thank especially the work, the pioneering work of the TAMEST group for being the multiplier that takes all of our science, melds it into some sort of beautiful dinner gala, and then combines it and recombines it and brings out amazing collaborations. It's truly, truly unique. And especially amongst this, I want to bring to the fore the vision of Edith and Peter O'Donnell in 2005. They founded this amazing recognition. Again, I don't know who this Ilya is that you brought up, but all of these recipients here are just phenomenal, and it brings together the legacy and achievement of Texas science. Thank you to all the sponsors who make this legacy sustainable. This is key. It brings the future scientists up and brings them to the forefront, puts them on the stage, and allows them to succeed well beyond the impact of just Texas science, but truly global science. Alan, you're the reason I'm here in many, many, many ways, and you already mentioned some of them. I was here as a protege some time ago. Alan has been a recruiter, a mentor, a champion, a colleague, and a collaborator. So thank you so much. I honestly wouldn't have been in Austin if not for you, and it's been a wonderful, wonderful ride. Behind me stands a team of amazing scientists, colleagues, students, and coworkers who have made the science possible. This is a team sport, everyone. We know that. So I stand here on their behalf, not on my own behalf, because all I do is write emails, really. Pretty much, all of us. They're the ones who are the heroes of the lab. They're the ones who make the science fiction that I put into my proposals into science fact, into science reality, right? I'm just a science fiction writer. And last but not least, I want to thank my family, my parents who have nurtured and cultivated this love for learning that has become an inability to leave universities, to leave school. I've been in school my whole life. I've never left school. To Julie, my wife, who is here and has supported me throughout, yes, with much, much patience. I so much appreciated Julie. I know there's always another deadline, and I know you're always going to be patiently allowing me to finish for that deadline. And the little video started with my children. My children, 6 and 8 now, they keep it real. I want to finish with them because they inspire me to get up and do this, and every so often remind me, bring it down a bit. I told my eldest, I said, Mommy and I are gonna go to this fancy dinner and it's gonna be wonderful. And she goes, "Oh, Daddy, you want a prize? I didn't know you were a good scientist." And I said, "Zoya, what do you mean? What kind of scientist do you think I am?" And she goes, "Mezzo." With that, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much. We are now proud to recognize Dr. Caitlin M. Casey as the recipient of the 2025 Edith and Peter O'Donnell Award in Physical Sciences. Dr. Casey is an academic affiliate researcher in the Department of Astronomy at the University of Texas at Austin. She was nominated by Dr. David Vanden Bout, Dean of the College of Natural Sciences at the University of Texas at Austin. Now let's learn more about Dr. Casey and her work.
My high school actually had a planetarium. The astronomy teacher was really fundamental in nurturing my interest and let me, turn off the lights and be in the planetarium all by myself. And that was just such a powerful experience and really inspired me and made it feel like this is something that I can actually do. I'm an astrophysicist at the University of Texas at Austin, and I study some of the most distant, most massive galaxies in the universe. I lead a program called Cosmos Webb, which is one of the largest programs undertaken with the James Webb Space Telescope, which is the successor to the Hubble Space Telescope. It can see objects 100 times fainter and much further back in cosmic time than we could see just a couple years ago. We just finished assembling this incredibly large, deep image of the cosmos, and we are just now starting to sift through the 1 million galaxies that sit in this single image. We're trying to find the most massive galaxies that really push at the extreme margins of what the universe can produce. And by finding those extreme sources, we get to test fundamental laws of physics.
Her work is really incredibly fundamental and foundational and asks these amazing questions about what is the origin of the universe, using the highest technology that we have today to look as far back in time as possible to really see the emergence of the earliest galaxies in the universe.
A big surprise when JWST first turned on was an overabundance of very bright galaxies at early times. We were not expecting this at all. We maybe expected 10 or so galaxies at these extraordinary distances. We found 100.
I trace the evolution of the biggest, most distant galaxies in this image as they are forming and evolving over time. So I look at specifically the big fireworks shows going on in the first 2 billion years of the 14 billion years of our universe and try to figure out how that seeded the universe that we see today.
They had to have had some sort of very efficient process of forming their stars, of forming their black holes that we just don't see in the universe today.
We're seeing more galaxies, bigger galaxies, brighter galaxies. The universe assembled itself in this complex way more rapidly than our theoretical models can predict.
What we can do is not just find the most distant galaxies, but find where they live in the biggest structures known on the largest scales of the universe.
At the end of the day, her impact, the lasting impact, is going to be the students that she trains and the postdocs that she trains.
We have such an amazing role to play in the lives of students. And part of my mission as an educator and as a mentor is to just keep the fire going in people's minds about how interesting it is to be able to solve the mysteries of the universe from this little rock we live on.
She is a supportive mentor. She is a really thoughtful, conscientious teacher. She is involved in her own science and manages to juggle all these things and excel at all of them.
One of the most exciting things about astronomy is that it's impossible to predict what we're going to find next. There's so much to learn. I don't know what the next surprise is going to be, but I'm here for it.
Dr. Vandenbout, please come up to the podium.
So I have to start. I'm not an astronomer, but I grew up around astronomers. My dad happens to be one. And this experience has given me a kind of unique window into what a very big deal it is when a giant new observational tool comes online. It is absolutely just earth-shaking in the field. And with the James Webb Space Telescope, we've opened up a whole new era in astronomy. Competition for time on these tools is fierce, and securing even a few hours is a testament to a scientist's high impact potential. So you can imagine my reaction when almost 4 years ago, I heard one of our faculty would be helping lead the largest project of all, using this astounding, new, incredibly sophisticated and ambitious telescope. Caitlin Casey has been shepherding a massive effort to map the most ancient structures in the universe, with an international team of scientists involving hundreds of JWST observing hours. By measure of just earning time on a precious observing tool, and by many other measures as well, she is among the leading astronomers of her generation. Caitlin searches for the most distant galaxies, cloaked in space dust and located in the most distant outposts of the universe. These productive star-forming galaxies are especially significant markers of our universe's ancient past. Caitlin searches out and identifies the very brightest beacons, the galaxies that seemingly outshine all others, which are among the most active in generating newborn stars and far beyond what any galaxies nearby are capable of. The exceptionally bright galaxies she finds have challenged long-held assumptions related to how the universe formed and how it changed with time. They also reveal new insights into what took place as the first stars and massive black holes formed. I also learned talking to her earlier, we have to wait for a lot of the spectroscopy till we really understand it, but that's why there's always exciting science to be done. It's an incredibly exciting time for astronomy, and Caitlin is a key reason for that excitement. Many of the leading scientific journals, top popular science media outlets, numerous conferences and scientific discussions in the last few years have centered on the revealing insights of Caitlin and her team. And she has not been thoughtful only in her science, but also importantly in her stewardship of everyone following in her footsteps. She models in her lab a commitment to thoughtful mentorship and creating a supportive and welcoming environment for young astronomers from all backgrounds. And amid all of this, Caitlin is also an amazing and effective scientific ambassador, communicating her science effectively and inspiringly. In a sense, she is taking us all of humanity, on an awesome journey, taking us roughly 10 billion years back in space-time to see what we've never seen before. And in so doing, Caitlin is introducing us to the mysterious, extreme, giant, and luminous galaxies in that early universe, which spark such wonder and open up so many avenues for further discovery. So I'm grateful for her efforts and so proud to get to introduce this evening's TAMEST 2025 Edith and Peter O'Donnell Award winner in the physical sciences. Please join me in welcoming to the podium Caitlin Casey.
Thank you, David, for the exceedingly kind nomination for this award. And thank you to TAMEST and the O'Donnell Foundation for their stewardship of science in the state of Texas. It's such a profoundly important thing to fund. Also, beyond David's kind nomination, I want to thank him for his stewardship of the College of Natural Sciences at the University of Texas at Austin. CNS has really created a rich community that fosters an incredible array of scientists from, emeritus professors all the way down to undergraduate students. And being a part of that community has been truly fundamental to my growth as a scientist. I also want to thank my home department at UT Austin, the Department of Astronomy, and also its research unit, the McDonald Observatory. I encourage everyone to go out to West Texas at some point in their lives to check out McDonald Observatory. It's the darkest night sky, most inspiring night sky you'll ever see. And I've been to many observatories, so I highly recommend it. The department at UT Austin in astronomy has created such an inclusive environment and really fostered such a healthy space to explore the far edges of the cosmos and really fundamental questions like, is there life elsewhere in the universe? Do we really understand the physical constraints of the cosmos itself? And I couldn't imagine my career without the influence and kindness of my colleagues in UT Austin Astronomy. I, of course, have to thank my family as well, to my parents for inspiring me to always ask questions, and my older brothers as well for, constantly prodding me growing up. As well as my husband, Brendan Bowler, who's also an astronomer, who teaches me every day about the astronomy that I don't know. So that's always appreciated. And then my 3 kids, my 4-year-old daughter, Io, and then I have 2-year-old twin sons, Norian and Tethian. Our home is just an absolute chaos, a tornado of chaos with 3 toddlers, but they keep me going. They are my life, and they are always asking me questions too. I'm pretty sure they don't even know we're scientists yet, but we'll make sure that they always are asking questions. And one thing I want to say before leaving is, astronomy is a different type of science. We are not saving lives. We are not solving world problems, but it's truly a luxury of advanced civilization that we can ask these big questions about how our universe formed, what is the absolute truth at the beginning of time itself, well before Earth existed. And I think, this is a mission that is so profoundly important to me, is to communicate the importance of basic science, which is often under threat. I often, as an astronomer, find myself trying to justify why we should, ask these questions about our universe and how it formed. But to me, it just speaks to the profound importance of how we draw people into science in the first place. I showed you some images this morning from the James Webb Space Telescope, and often those images are enough to draw an undergraduate
into a science career. And I see it every day when I teach undergraduates, how I get to blow their minds every day. I couldn't imagine a better career. So I'm very grateful for the award, and thank you all for caring so much about science in this wonderful state. Thank you.
Thank you. We're now proud to recognize Dr. Fay Liu as the recipient of the 2025 Edith and Peter O'Donnell Award in Technology Innovation. Dr. Liu is founder and chief executive officer of RevoChem LLC. She was nominated by Dr. Oliver Mullins, retired fellow at SLB and member of the National Academy of Engineering. Now let's learn more about Dr. Liu and her work.
I like to start my morning with a cup of coffee. The aroma in the coffee bean coming from different origin of the coffee, different roasting, are actually very relaxing for me. In a coffee bean alone, there are over 800 compounds. So those are what we call the VOC, volatile organic compound, and that's also exactly what RevoChem and myself specialize in. Volatile organic compound is actually everywhere around us. It is in the crude oil, it is in a lot of petroleum products. It can help us trace back on the origins of where those compounds are coming from. If you have a bag of coffee beans, it can give you the fingerprint information to help you trace back, oh, this is from Argentina, or this is from Colombia. What RevoChem specialize in more of a petroleum industry application is to trace back of where the hydrocarbon are produced from underground.
Fay and RevoChem is using oil fingerprinting technology to help oil gas industry produce more efficiently.
The unconventional reservoir development is essentially a game of optimization. Each of the wells costs you $7 to $8 million. Understanding exactly where hydrocarbon is produced from is absolutely critical, because then you know how many wells you should drill in the section.
She combined 3 different disciplines: two-dimensional gas chromatography, the foundational measurement that's done here at RevoChem, geochemistry, and the third is data analytics. All with great promise, but all with great challenge.
2DGC will give us the much finer granularity differences down to about 10 to 15 feet. That's pretty amazing, because you're drilling 10, 15,000 feet underground and be able to pinpoint this drop of oil is coming from such a narrow window down to every 10 to 15 feet, how much is coming from each of that interval.
They have a solution to help oil and gas industry to monitor reservoir at a high resolution, also monitor the oil production over time.
And started working in the oil and gas industry from 2012. US at that time invented and matured several key technology, including hydraulic fracturing and horizontal drilling. We became so good at it that we created our own problem. Oil price crashed from 150 down to the 20s in just a few years. Companies making money at oil price 50 and 60, now at 20, it became a challenge. So that's actually when I started RevoChem, because the industry really need technology to help them cost-effectively produce from those reservoirs to be able to survive at $20, $30 oil. Both John and I are PhD scientists, both left our job to start this company, and nobody would invest in us. You're female, you're a PhD with no business background, and you start this company with your husband. It's essentially a married couple's company. And it was quite a scaring experience to take out all our retirement money for this company.
We didn't think about risk. It's just an exciting thing to do, confident it'll work.
They sustained this and had faith in each other, and now they're enjoying the success.
There are huge amount of values in those chemical data. We are the world's first commercial GC by GC lab, and we are hoping to expanding it into more applications. I feel my idea can change how energy are being produced in America, can change the world. That's what truly excites us every day.
Dr. Mullins, please come to the podium to introduce Dr. Liu.
So this nomination reflects the true spirit of TAMEST in a way that's unusual. Where the nominee and the nominator are not in the same organization. So there's a good idea. It's my pleasure, it has been my pleasure to nominate Fei Lu for this award. In this process, she had to combine three separate disciplines, challenging but with a lot of potential. The foundational measurement, as I said in the video, is two-dimensional gas chromatography. That is the best method for a complex mixture of hydrocarbon, and petroleum is one of the most complex mixtures in the world. So 2DGC, I love 2DGC. I've used it for various reservoirs, Gulf of Mexico or Gulf of America. And the issue, though, that I had, we could never get 2DGC out of research, whether I was working with Schlumberger Research or Woods Hole Oceanographic Institute. And it's a truism that if you're trying to deliver something to the field and research is on your critical path, you have a problem. So what Dr. Liu was able to do was to industrialize 2DGC. It's the only industrial lab for 2DGC in the world, I believe. This is a complex issue, but she managed to do that, and that increased the throughput and reduced the delivery times tremendously. So that generates a lot of volume of data. And so they also need very high resolution for what they intend to do with this measurement, with what they're doing with the measurement. So that requires some data analytics that is not so easy to deliver out of this complex data set to extract data that's going to have an impact in the oil field. For example, this is a routine problem in high-resolution mass spectroscopy. So that was the second component. And then the third component is geochemistry. Well, geochemistry has a very rich history in the oil industry. Nevertheless, it's primarily used for petroleum system analysis for exploration. But in the much larger domain of development and production, geochemistry tends to take a back seat, except for production allocation, to figure out which zone is producing what fraction of the production. So Fei took a variant on this concept and said, well, in the unconventionals, she could look at what volume of rock is producing in a well and what volume of rock is not producing in a well. And in the unconventionals, they drill a lot of wells. Well spacings tend to be fairly small, so they can optimize the upcoming well based on the existing analysis of the well. The unconventionals are very cost-sensitive market, so the value had to be evident right away, or else this isn't going to fly. So they overcame all these obstacles and they delivered success in this arena. But they had one other problem. The timing of starting the company might be a little questionable because they started the company right before COVID. And during COVID, the oil industry fell off a cliff. So to survive that environment was very difficult. They survived that environment, and now they're flourishing. But they now have a new problem. I think it's probably correct to say that there's no other laboratory in the oil industry that has this problem. They have to manage rapid growth. So please join me in congratulating Dr. Fei Lu for recipient of the 2025 Edith and Peter O'Donnell Award in Technology Innovation. Thank you.
Thank you. I am incredibly humbled and honored to receive this Edith Peter O'Donnell Award. First of all, I would like to thank TAMEST committee as well as Edith Peter O'Donnell Foundation. I would like to thank Dr. Ganesh Thakur, past president Dr. Brendan Lee, and also my award committees, Dr. Mary Pat Moyer, Dr. Jie Zhang, and Dr. Leo Chang, and particularly my nominator, Dr. Oliver Mullings. I'll be honest, it is totally unexpected. I received Dr. Mullings' call, and before that, we've only met in person once. So for the first 2 minutes, I almost thought it's a fraud. So I'm really, really honored to receive this award and be recognized. It's not only a huge personal milestone for me, but it's also a testimony for the dedication and also aiming for excellence for my team. I come from a very small team. We have less than 20 people. I thought I was just keeping my heads down, developing the technology to solving a critical problem for the energy industry, how to minimizing the environmental impact, drill the minimum amount of well while still producing the same amount of oil out of ground. However, I was extremely honored, be noticed, be recognized by this prestigious award. I also wanted to thank a lot of mentors that have went through many years that helped me to get where I am. And last but not least, I wanted to thank my families, my parents who give me unconditional love, to give me this encouragement to continue to go wherever I wanted to go. And my daughter, 9-year daughter, Cleo Wu, and most importantly, my husband, Dr. Jiang Wu, that helped me throughout the process. It's not a trivial job to starting this company from the ground, and also taking care of our daughters while I have to work during the night, writing my grant, writing my papers, writing the patents, and working together. We're working together, building our third lab, which is going to complete in a couple of months. So really, really appreciate all the help I get throughout the way to get where I am. This also built tremendous confidence in what I have for the science and technology system built in the United States and in the state of Texas. Thank you for all the effort and appreciate all the work. Thank you.
What a wonderful group of rising stars. Let's give them another hand. Tonight, you witnessed the best of Texas, innovation and creativity. We'd like to once again recognize the generosity and the forethought of Edith and Peter O'Donnell and their foundation for making the awards possible each year. We hope you'll help TAMEST continue this initiative by making a donation to support the O'Donnell Awards. You can make a gift online at the TAMEST website. I'll now turn it back to Dr. Walker. Dr. Walker.
Thank you so much, Mr. Thompson. I mean, I just have to say, best night at the movies all year. It's fantastic. Thank you all. So I want to announce that the nominations for the 2026 O'Donnell Awards are now open. They'll be open until April 30th. And we would encourage you to recognize those wonderful folks in your own organization for their outstanding achievement and potential as a rising star. In particular, the 2026 year will be significant because it will be the 20th anniversary of the O'Donnell Awards. So this concludes tonight's celebration. I would like to let you know that the conference will reconvene here in the Harmony Ballroom for breakfast at 7:30 a.m. The program will begin at 8:30 with our breakfast session speaker, Dr. Clyde Svensson, Executive Director and Board of Governors, Regenerative Medicine Institute at Cedars-Sinai. But the bar remains open until 9 o'clock, so I encourage you to continue to enjoy the evening, visit with colleagues and friends, and celebrate our wonderful awardees. Good night.